the SMN930, which is to say, the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. I had honestly intended to make a commentary and discussion video since early January, possibly even December 2016, if my memory serves me correct. Now, you might be wondering, why am I doing this just now as opposed to when the media coverage was on high over the explosions? What took me so long? Well, there are reasons for this, though you may likely assume procrastination and slackness are the driving causes for this. Partially true, but there's also the fact that by the time this idea came to mind, Samsung said they were supposed to do a full revelation for the causes of the battery explosions by the end of the 2016 year, which soon became January 2017. When I first heard about that, I thought they would have made much more sense to wait until when the official revelations take place, even though there were already so-called leaked articles about the cause of the explosions, but I'll discuss that a little later. It's also worth mentioning that despite the cool down that the Note 7 is actually still mentioned quite a lot in 2017, because the Note series is just that ridiculously popular. For real though, the Note 7 series is like the golden crown of Samsung's portfolio. Now, as most people know, the naming story behind this phone is really odd because despite being called the 7th, it's actually the 6th iteration of the Note series. This honestly rubbed me the wrong way when I first heard that they were serious about going with that name because it's misleading, despite the fact that many people, like myself, know that it's the 6th phone from the lineup. But even then, there were a lot of people that were asking for the longest time about what happened to the Note 6. So truth is, not everyone at first understood the phenomenon behind the name, and I won't blame them for being confused and curious because it really is strange and misleading. The reasons behind naming it like this were so they can make the S series and Note series in numerical harmony with each other. Silly! They were also afraid of people thinking that it would start to make the Note series look more dated than they ought to be, which is an even sillier reason. Most of their consumers know better than that and are aware of the fact that the Note phones have always been the bigger, badder, better phones in the pack, so I'm not sure why they felt 2016 would be any different, but alas! They're weird! Oh, and there were also hearsays about them trying to make it similar to the iPhone because they also had 7 in their name too, so they also wanted to size them up there. Not sure how true that claim is, but considering that Samsung and Apple fight like cats and dogs, I wouldn't be too surprised if that did turn out to be another one of the reasons behind the move. It is so eerily ironic that the Note phone that skipped a number ends up being the first cancelled Note. What a creepy connection. Okay, let's talk about the Note 7's entry. So for those of you who have been up to date with the news in 2016, the phone was officially unveiled on August 2, but thanks to numerous leaks like usual, we got to see the specifications and looks of the phone ahead of its time. Note 7 was then released on the market on the 19th that month for some markets and came later elsewhere. It came in 4 delicious colors: gold platinum, silver titanium, coral blue, and black onyx. If you ask me, the coral blue was hands down my favorite color of the bunch. Seriously, it was so gorgeous and so highly sought after that it caused some orders to be delayed because Samsung simply didn't make enough of them, nor did they anticipate the demand for that color. But seriously though, how could they not have forecasted the demand for a color that lovely? Alright, here comes a part that you're probably going to want to skip because I'm about to go balls out and nerdy with the specifications of this stylish toting summer flagship. So get ready. Here we go. Run! The Samsung Galaxy Note 7 launched as usual with an Android-powered operating system, which was Android 6.0, skinned with TouchWiz Grace UX. It has a 5.7-inch or 14.48cm Super AMOLED Quad HD display of 2560 x 1440 pixels for a density of around 518 pixels per inch, a dual-edge screen, and Gorilla Glass 5 to take a hard beating. The processor had a quad-core Snapdragon 820 socket on chip for the North American market, but went with the octa-core Exynos 8890 chip for the other markets. This annoyed some North Americans who claim the Exynos processor is much better than its Snapdragon counterpart, but truth is, both are highly capable and the matter over whether one is better than the other is highly debatable, so I'll just continue with the specifications torture. For internal storage, it came with 64GB on board, though I personally believe that it should have been 128GB. They did also support micro SD card slot expansion for cards of up to 256GB, but that was only good for media since Samsung for some reason didn't make its phones capable of official adaptable storage like what HTC and a few others have done. There was 4GB of RAM available for you to open up tons of apps, and a 12MP camera on the front that's proven to take extremely good photos and videos. It is a dual pixel sensor with 1.4 micropixels, f1.7 aperture lens, and had a 5MP camera on the back for you to take ugly, stupid, dangerous selfies. The front camera had OIS and 4K capabilities as well. Another thing to mention about the front camera is the fact that some Note 7s had Samsung ISOCELL S5K2L1 sensors, while others had Sony Exmor RIMX260 sensors. For connectivity, you had Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, ANT+, NFC, and USB were available. For charging, you had USB-C, fast charging, Qi, and wireless power mics could be used if you were the type that found regular wall charging to be too boring, or were impatient, or always on the road, or had some excuse of the sort to frequently be away from the walls. There were also 4,096 points of pressure on the screen, allowing you to put variable amounts of pressure on the Note 7, but that doesn't mean that you should have went unnecessarily hard on the phone. This Note 7 was also the first in the Note series to boast IP68 water resistance, meaning that you could shower with your phone, swim with your phone, pour cranberry juice on your phone, and dunk it in all sorts of fluids. Kidding. It is not immune to fluids, so like all so-called water-resistant phones, you must be careful with what you expose it to and how deep the depth is. For security, to keep your nude photos and evil operations safe, there was a one-touch fingerprint sensor, iris scanner for your wild eyeballs, Samsung Knox to knock nasty malware, and a private folder where you store your nastiness. Or perhaps, you should use that folder for something cleaner, more innocent, holier, smarter, and just better. How much did this phone weigh? 169 grams. And now finally, the Note 7 had a deadly 3500 mAh battery that was stupidly non-removable. I'll be sure to go into a whole heap of details on that matter later. So, did you survive the nerdy madness? Or did you skip it like a grasshopper? Now with all that said, you can just imagine what the reception was like and how the media, journalists, and tech folks were all over this thing. Just about everyone loved this phone. Except for Samsung haters or even phablet haters, but even they too secretly might have liked it. The glass and metal build quality was loved. The vibrant Quad HD dual-edge display with its vibrant colors was highly praised, with some saying that it was the best in class. Many also touted the camera to be the best of 2016 smartphones, though it was disputed by some who say that the iPhone 7 Plus, LG V20, or even the Lumia 950 XL had better or at least equal cameras. Who was right? None. If you've seen samples from all of the above, they're all damn good. Seriously, you wouldn't have gone wrong with the phones I've just mentioned. But anyways, reviewers also say that it was excellent at multitasking thanks to its nifty features, large display, and speedy processor. Oh yes, and let's not forget about that S Pen. Remember the Note 5? Remember all the jokes about putting it in wrong, getting stuck and being unable to come out? Yeah, Samsung was careful not to let history repeat itself in that regards with the Note 7. How embarrassing and hilarious that was! While we're on the topic of the S Pen, I should also mention that this S Pen was water resistant, meaning that you could get it wet with no worries. Hakuna Matata. There were even reviewers that demonstrated this by writing on the Note 7 while it was underwater, which I found to be so cool. So as you could see, the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 was doing so well for Samsung. It made them feel real good and proud, until their phones started catching on fire. What caused them to do this? The batteries! It was an incident here and an incident there, and all over the world in all sorts of locations. Many in bedrooms, some in cars, some in people's pockets, their hands, you get the idea. This forced them to recall the phones and issue warnings to owners to get their phones exchanged. Okay, a little bit of a nuisance and a headache for cellular carriers and owners, but they cooperated and got it done. These safer Note 7s had a green battery logo so that safety regulations know that the issue was taken care of. Or at least, you would think so. It wasn't. As we all know well by now, it didn't take very long until we started hearing reports about the newer Note 7 swelling and blowing smoke. Samsung's initial response to this was quite hilarious because I believe they first denied it by saying that the phone that exploded wasn't even a real Note 7. Well, of course! They didn't want people telling lies about their impeccable products. How dare you attempt to defame us? It's probably what they wanted to bluntly say until more and more second batch phones started smoking and igniting. Wow. Since I've started chatting, I don't think I mentioned yet that the Note 7 used lithium-ion batteries, which are pretty common in many electronics. Or were they lithium polymer? Anyways, the explosions happening from around the world were getting out of hand to the point that many businesses stopped selling and even banned the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. Samsung then, of course, had to ultimately cancel the Note 7, which they officially announced on October 11, 2016. Boom! Done for good! It was a very sad day for Samsung. A very sad day for owners and enthusiasts. They did not want it to come down to this, but they had to, for the sake of safety. The Samsung Galaxy Note 7 will go down in history as a bomb. Endless amounts of jokes, memes, and videos are available on this topic. Many people have responsibly returned their phones since then, but unfortunately, you still have a number of people holding onto them even to this very day. Let me say this and be very frank about it. Stop being stupid. Stop being a hazard to the public and those around you. Stop being selfish and let it go. Just because your Note 7 has not went up in flames, that does not mean that it is okay to use. Your phone has been recalled and is deemed unsafe and dangerous across the globe. I get it. You love the high-end, water-resistant, stylus-toting smartphone, but your idolatry over it will eventually cost you. How much and what exactly? Who knows? Your jeans? Your room? Your vehicle? A person next to you? Your life? Who knows? Prevention is better than cure. Enough said, so now it's time for me to discuss some popular, safe alternatives that some sensible people went with. The first and foremost is obviously the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge because it's the closest thing to it. The only big thing missing was the S Pen. Need that S Pen really badly? Buy a stylus for your S7 Edge or consider the Note 5 or even Note 4. In fact, some people still cherish the Note 4 to this day thanks to its future-proof specs and removable battery. But of course, some people have to have flagships of the current year, so other popular choices were the OnePlus 3T, Google Pixel XL, Huawei P9 Plus, ZTE Axon 7, LG V20, iPhone 7 Plus, and many others. Which one would I recommend? The LG V20. Why? Because I'm sponsored by LG and get paid a lot of money to promote them. I'm kidding. Alright, fess up. How many of you actually believe that? It's okay. I won't judge you. Though the LG V20 is the most attractive phone of the bunch in terms of utility and features, speaking of the LG V20, there has been some very recent headlines about this phone doing so well in Canada that they finally decided to expand to 3 other carriers, Rogers, Fido, and Bell. Okay, so now this is actually starting to sound as if this video were sponsored by Lucky Gold Star, so let's get back to the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. So after the fall of the Note 7, Samsung quite predictably ran to the S7 series by promoting them more, producing more of them, and even offering them in a memorable color. Coral Blue. Yes, they really want you to continue buying their smartphones, so they made do with what was left. So, why exactly did the batteries ignite in the first place? According to the first unofficial report on December 2, 2016 from a site called Instrumental, I'll sum it up by telling you that the batteries were too big. What? That's right. I should probably post a link in the description when I put this video on YouTube, but for those that have already seen it long ago, they said that there was inadequate clearance between the battery and its enclosure. As a result of the aggressive design, the battery did not have enough space to expand and undergo pressure from tests and use. Wow. So this is what Technology.ai said. So what did Samsung say? Well, we got the full scoop released to us on January 23, 2017, which is why I'm kind of glad I waited before getting this commentary recorded. Now for the batteries. In batch A, the original batteries from Samsung SDI, the negative electrode was deflected in the upper right corner of the battery. The tip of the negative electrode was also incorrectly located in the curve, not the planar area. How did this happen? As they've confessed, they fudged up the battery design, causing some people to believe that they rushed the phone, or that the batteries at least weren't sampled properly and didn't undergo enough quality tests. So, what about those batteries from batch B, the secondary supplier called Amperex, based in China? Well, those batteries had high welding burrs that resulted in the penetration of the insulation tape and separator, which then caused direct contact between the positive tab with the negative electrode. Oh, but wait! A number of these Amperex batteries did not even have the insulation tape, so if my judgment serves me correct, this means that contact with the wrong parts must have been even easier! Brilliant! Not. I am by no means an electrical or hardware engineer, so reading and learning about the causes felt so weird and nerdy, but thankfully, the pictures, graphs, and summarized explanations with highlights made it much easier to understand and get to the point. Alright, so you must be wondering, who is right? Technology.ai, who said that the batteries were too large for their enclosure? Or Samsung, who said that it was a design flaw revolved around electrodes and contacts? If you put the pieces together, it's obviously both. The things that went on inside the batteries caused them to ignite, so with or without sufficient space, they technically would have exploded anyway, but perhaps if there was sufficient space, they may have fared better. Would have been even better if the batteries were removable. Got that? Removable. That way, they could have just recalled the batteries and allowed owners to safely put the phones aside, but it's too bad everyone keeps chasing this toxic trend of freakishly thin, unibody phones made of glass and metal with glued down batteries. Stop. Just stop. Glass and metal are nice to look at, nice to feel and all, but do you really need to make it unibody too? Do you really need to glue down the component that wears the fastest? Many people would appreciate a thicker phone that has good battery life with the option to remove it even if they're not the type that fusses over user replaceable batteries. It just makes it easier to service the phone and keep it around longer. Some may say that it's necessary for water resistance, but this is false. Samsung's own Galaxy S5 was IP67 certified, meaning that it was just as water resistant as an iPhone 7. You know, that phone that thought it was cool by removing its headphone jack and making its home screen button unclickable? Yeah, that guy. I'm sure you own and are probably watching this video online right now. If this is all true, then I just roasted your silly phone. And I feel good about it too. Real good. But seriously though, there's nothing cool about omitting your headphone jack. That's stupid. That ticked off a lot of consumers. So I'm not sure who's dumber, the one who first did it or the people that started copying him. I don't know. You must be thinking I'm an iPhone hater. But truth is, I'd love the iPhone 7 Plus if it just had a darn headphone jack and card slot for memory expansion. And a removable battery would be a lovely, much appreciated bonus too. Rather than copying the idea of tossing your headphone jack, why not copy the idea of putting 256GB of internal storage into flagship smartphones? Seriously, when manufacturers are copying Apple, why do they have to copy the worst and not the better these days? Now, despite how much I hate non-removable batteries, I still like phones like the BlackBerry Passport, Nokia Lumia 1520, and Sony Xperia Z5 Premium. Now let's discuss Samsung's new 8-point battery safety check. This is their new process they have come up with since the Note 7 fiasco to ensure that they are committed to utmost quality and testing for all their upcoming phones to avoid another costly, humiliating mistake. Should I go into the details or should I just tell you the names of the stages? I will go into the details since you love to hear me chat for extended periods of time, right? No. Ain't nobody got time for that. So here we go. Durability test, visual inspection, X-ray, charge and discharge test, total volatile organic compound test, disassembling test, accelerated usage test, and a delta open circuit voltage test. Wowzers, those are a lot of intense tests. Turns out that they really weren't kidding about stepping up the quality tests, and they really shouldn't be, considering how the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 cancellation was such a huge loss. So what's going to happen for Samsung's next set of flagships? Well, the Samsung Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus are set to be unveiled on March 29 with availability coming in April. Which countries? I don't know, but I'm sure you probably do if you're a consumer interested in the S series. Want to know what's going to be even bigger and more anticipated than the S8? The Samsung Galaxy Note 8. Well, that was terribly obvious, wasn't it? Last year, I believe in October, Samsung mentioned the Samsung Galaxy Note 8 and confirmed it was some sort of trade-in program. This year, we're of course hearing more about it than ever, so now that leads me to the final part of this video where I tell you what I want on the Note 8. I want a removable 5000 mAh battery. Yes, that's realistic and possible, so long as they aren't trying to make the smartphone as thin as a starved runway model. I also want to see a broad 17cm screen in native 4K, the return of physical buttons, 128GB and 256GB options of internal storage, 6GB of RAM, a dual camera setup, and water resistance. Doesn't need to be IP68, but just good enough to survive an accidental dunking. And of course, I'd like to see all the other bells and whistles return, but these are the things I want to highlight. And oh yes, the processors! For us North Americans, let there be a choice this time. Sell both the Exynos and Snapdragon phones in North America. How will they realistically do this? Well, sell the Exynos phones unlocked while they can sell the Snapdragon powered phones to wireless carriers. There are probably better ways of doing this, but that's just one idea that comes to mind, and now it's time for me to shut up! I'm Guuzaka Tube, and now I am out! Did you like this video? Has Samsung lost your trust after the Note 7 failure? Will you be purchasing the Samsung Galaxy S8 or will you wait for the Note 8? Comment, rate, like, subscribe, share, read my blog for information, and visit my Twitter page to see my latest tweets. And do not forget to also participate in the polls in the top right corner in the I circle.